Before the show starts, drop a comment below with where you're watching from, then sit back, relax, and get ready for some chilling stories. It started with a man just staring at me. I was halfway through a late-night burger at some rundown roadside diner off I-40 in New Mexico when I looked up, and there he was, sitting 3 booths down, not eating, not drinking, just staring, like he knew me, like he hated me, and what made it worse was that nobody else seemed to notice. The waitress walked past him twice like he wasn't even there. I glanced back down at my food, tried to shake it off, told myself I was just tired. I'd been driving all day, windows down, music blasting, going wherever the highway took me. This trip was supposed to clear my head. After a messy breakup and quitting a job I hated, I figured a solo road trip would be my reset button. But right then, in that greasy little diner with flickering lights and faded ketchup bottles, I felt anything but relaxed. The guy kept staring. No blinking, no movement, just this cold, blank look that locked onto me like I was already dead. I shoved the last bite into my mouth, threw a 20 on the table, and headed for the door. I didn't look back until I was outside, and that's when I saw him again, this time through the diner window. Still seated, still staring. My car was parked toward the back, near the gas pumps. The lot was mostly empty. A couple of semis parked way off near the diesel section, and a black SUV sitting under a broken light. As I got closer, I saw him again, standing next to the SUV. Just standing there, hands in his hoodie pocket, staring again, like he'd teleported there, like he knew where I was going to be. I didn't even pretend to be casual this time. I got in my car, locked the doors, and started it up. Then the dash lit up. Tire pressure low, rear left. Nope, I whispered out loud. Not now. I got out, crouched down, and yeah, the tire was losing air. Not flat, but soft. Definitely not safe for highway speed. I scanned the lot again. He was still there. This time closer. About 30 feet away now, just past the edge of the gas station lights, half in shadow. I started moving fast. Grabbed the jack and spare from the trunk, dropped to the ground, and began loosening the lug nuts. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the tire iron twice. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Getting closer. I didn't look up. I couldn't. I just kept working, my heart pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. I was halfway through swapping the tire when I finally glanced up. He was right there, maybe 10 feet away, still silent, just watching. I stood up fast, gripping the tire iron like a weapon. "What do you want, man?" I called out, trying to sound firm, even though my voice cracked. No answer. He tilted his head slightly, like he was curious, or amused, and then he smiled. Just a slow, creepy smile that didn't match his dead eyes. I backed up, still holding the iron. Back off. Still nothing. Then he reached for my passenger door handle. That was it. I grabbed the jack, jammed the tire on as fast as I could, and tightened the bolts in record time. I didn't care if it was perfect. I needed to leave. I threw everything back in the trunk, jumped in, slammed the door, and floored it. The guy didn't chase me. He just watched me speed off. That smile still stuck on his face. I checked the rear view. For a second, I thought it was over. But about a mile down the road, I saw headlights. Not close, but steady, following. I switched lanes. The car stayed behind. I took an exit. So did he. I turned the music off and stared ahead. This was happening. I was being followed. And I didn't know who the hell this guy was, or what he wanted. But I knew for damn sure I wasn't stopping again until I was far away from this town. The highway stretched ahead, empty and dark. I pushed the speed a little, then a little more. But the car behind me? It did the same. I was doing 80, then 85. No matter how fast I went, those damn headlights stayed in my mirror. Not gaining, but not falling behind either. Just pacing me, like whoever was behind the wheel wanted me to know I wasn't alone. That they were in control. I took another exit, a narrow off-ramp that curved down into a patch of nothing. Dirt roads, a broken fence, total blackness, no lights, no people, just desert and silence. I figured if I could lose him in the back roads, maybe loop back to the highway later. I turned off my lights for a second, hoping to disappear into the dark. Bad idea. The road dipped suddenly, and my front bumper scraped hard against the ground. I cursed, flicked the lights back on, and nearly drove straight into a ditch. I swerved last second, heart pounding out of my chest. The car behind me? Still there. And now I could see more of it, black SUV. Same one from the gas station. It was him. That same guy. The one who never spoke. The one who stood there like he already owned me. I took a hard right down what looked like a service road. My GPS was useless by then. No signal. I drove fast, weaving between potholes and patches of dry brush. The SUV followed, kicking up dust, its headlights flickering through the trees like a warning. I kept going. Another turn. Another. Until finally, I saw lights in the distance, a cluster of small buildings. Civilization. Maybe a town, maybe just a truck stop, but anything was better than this. I floored it. As I got closer, I saw a faded green sign. Welcome to Los Cerrillos, Pop 643. Tiny place. One gas station. A motel with 6 rooms. A few houses. And a sheriff's office. I pulled in hard, tires squealing, right up to the front steps of the building. I jumped out of the car and ran to the door, banging like my life depended on it. A deputy opened up, middle-aged guy with a gut and a mustache. Probably hadn't had a real case in weeks. I'm being followed, I gasped. He's right behind me. Please. I think he slashed my tire back at a rest stop. He's been chasing me for miles. The deputy looked past me at the road. No SUV. No lights. Nothing. I turned around, confused. I knew he'd been right behind me. There was no way he turned off that fast. Come inside, the deputy said, eyeing me like I might be high. Let's slow down and talk. I gave him everything. The diner, the tire, the stare, the chase, all of it. He called in another unit to check the area, then sat me down with some water. I waited there an hour. Then 2. The second officer came back with nothing. No SUV. No footprints. No signs of anyone. I was starting to feel like I'd made the whole thing up. Maybe I was tired. Maybe the breakup, the long hours on the road, maybe it all messed with my head. But the next morning, they found something. The deputy called me back to the office. Turns out a rancher on the edge of town had reported an abandoned SUV parked behind his property. Black. Windows tinted. Engine cold. Inside they found a roll of duct tape, zip ties, a hunting knife, a small notebook with handwritten notes and times, and a photo of me, taken from inside the diner. My face, eating my burger, unaware. That man wasn't just some creep. He had a plan. The car wasn't registered. Plates were fake. Whoever he was, he vanished before they could catch him. I ended the road trip that same day. No more solo night drives. No more random diners. And I don't stop for gas unless it's daylight and packed with people. Because sometimes out there on the road, you're not just passing through. Someone might be waiting. I booked a rideshare to help finish a road trip. The guy had 5 stars, great reviews, offered free snacks, a charging cable. Everything felt normal, until he turned off the highway and locked the doors. I swear, I still hear that click in my sleep. This happened 2 years ago, when I was driving cross-country after college. My car had broken down outside Flagstaff, and I didn't want to lose time waiting for repairs. So I got creative. I started using a rideshare app, not just for short trips, but to connect with people doing long-distance drives, people who already had planned routes and were offering to split gas and time. It actually worked out great, at first. I rode with a couple heading to Santa Fe, then with a girl my age going to Albuquerque. Easy, chill people. And honestly, it felt safer than I expected. That changed when I met Nick. He was offering a ride from Gallup to Las Cruces, around 5 hours of highway, nothing complicated. His profile looked solid, clean white car, nice smile, tons of 5-star reviews from girls saying he was so respectful and felt super safe. I messaged him around 9 a.m. He responded instantly, said he was leaving in 2 hours and had room. I liked how clear he was, how easygoing. When he pulled up to the parking lot where I'd been dropped off earlier that day, he was in a white Dodge Charger, spotless, AC running, music low. "Hey, Samantha, right?" he said, smiling wide. Yup. That's me. First 30 minutes? Normal. He asked if I wanted a snack. There were granola bars and waters in the middle console. His music was mellow. He even asked if the temperature was okay. I let myself relax. The sun was high, the desert rolled past the window, and I thought, cool. One more smooth ride, and I'm done. We passed through a few tiny towns, nothing special. Then, just past the gas station in Truth or Consequences, he took a turn off the highway. Shortcut, he said casually. I glanced at the GPS on the dash. Still showed our route, just a side road cutting diagonally back to the freeway. Made sense. I didn't question it. But 20 minutes later, there were no road signs. No cars. No service. Just dirt and desert and broken fences. Hey, still on track? I asked, trying to sound light. Totally, he said, eyes on the road. Just avoiding some traffic. There was no traffic. We hadn't seen a car in miles. I looked down at my phone. No bars. Then I noticed something off. His dash didn't show the usual app GPS. It had been replaced with a different phone, not mounted, just resting near the gear shift. That one wasn't showing the normal route. It had a red dot, like a pin, sitting in the middle of nowhere. What's that map for? I asked, trying not to let my voice shake. Nick didn't answer. He kept driving. Another click. The doors locked. That's when my stomach dropped. My body knew something was wrong before my mind wanted to accept it. He looked at me in the mirror. Just chill, okay? That's all he said. Just chill. My pulse spiked. I looked around the car, eyes darting. The windows were up. There were no cars. No houses. Nothing. And I was trapped in the middle of the desert with a man I knew absolutely nothing about. My mind was racing. I didn't want to overreact. That voice in my head kept saying, maybe it's nothing. But the lock, the silence, that second phone, the way he looked at me through the mirror like I was inventory. I knew I needed to get out of that car. We drove for another 10 minutes without speaking. The desert around us got even more barren. It was just brush, broken fences, and distant hills. No signs. No signal. No way out. I need to pee, I said suddenly, trying to sound casual. Can you pull over? He didn't answer right away. Then, without looking at me, he said, we're almost there. There. That word chilled me. There wasn't a place on the map. There was wherever that red pin was leading us. I tried the handle. Still locked. I looked for the manual override. Nothing. I scanned the inside of the door and realized the back seat didn't have the standard child lock mechanism. It had been removed. Or maybe never existed. This wasn't a regular rideshare. This was something else. Then I spotted it. The central lock button near his elbow on the console. Just inches from his arm. If I could reach forward fast enough, maybe I could unlock the doors and bolt. But when I leaned forward a little, he noticed. Don't, he said, his voice low and sharp. Seriously. I sat back slowly. My heart was hammering. We finally reached a dusty gas station in the middle of nowhere. One of those forgotten places with an old pump, one flickering light, and a building that looked like it hadn't seen a customer since the 90s. There was no one there, not even an attendant. Just an empty parking lot and a broken vending machine outside the store. I just need to grab something, he said. Stay in the car. He stepped out, walked around the back, and disappeared behind the building. This was my shot. I dove for the front seat, slammed the lock button, yanked the door open and ran. I didn't look back. I just ran around the side of the building and dropped down behind a stack of crates, trying to catch my breath without making a sound. I heard the door open, then slam, then footsteps, crunching slowly on gravel, coming around the side of the building. Come on, he called out. You're making this harder than it has to be. He was close. I held my breath. My entire body was shaking. Then, just as he turned the corner, a sound broke the silence. A diesel engine. Headlights. A massive 18-wheeler pulled into the lot, horn blaring once. Nick froze, and I ran. I sprinted straight toward the truck, waving my arms like a maniac. The driver, this older guy with a beard and a cap, rolled down the window. You all right? No, please, that guy's trying to. I need help. That's all I got out. He threw open the door and helped me in. Nick was already heading back to his car. The trucker didn't wait. He hit reverse, turned hard, and drove straight out of there. I watched the white Dodge Charger shrink in the mirror until it disappeared into the night. We drove 20 minutes before I had enough signal to call the cops. They took my statement at a sheriff's station off the next town. I showed them the screenshots of Nick's profile, the route, the timestamp, everything I had. But the profile was already deleted. His photo, his reviews, even our chat history gone. Like it never existed. The car was never found. Neither was he. Later, I learned that the photos on his profile had been stolen from a real account. A driver in a totally different state who had no idea his identity was being used. That man planned this. He used the app to target someone just like me, alone, trusting, out of their comfort zone. I canceled the rest of my trip and flew home the next day. I haven't used rideshare apps since. I still drive, but only my own car, and never at night in places I don't know. Because what happened to me wasn't a random scare. It was a plan, and I'm just lucky I got away before he finished it. I just wanted to save gas money. That's it. I joined a group ride with 2 guys I met online. 12 hours later, I was in the back seat, tied up, with no idea where we were going. The ride was posted on a college forum. Not even the dark web or anything shady. Just a regular rideshare board where people coordinated long-distance trips to split gas. I was driving from Fresno to Denver to see my sister, and the idea of saving a couple $100 sounded pretty good. I didn't think twice. The guys' names were Derek and Miles. At least, that's what they said. Derek was the one driving, tall, skinny baseball cap, super chill vibes. Said he studied psychology at San Jose State. Miles was more quiet, wore dark clothes, had earbuds in most of the time. I figured he was the moody type. Whatever. We all met in a Starbucks parking lot early in the morning, loaded up our backpacks, and hit the road. At first, everything was fine. The car was clean, smelled like air freshener, and Derek even offered me a bottle of water as soon as I sat down. We talked about music, road trip playlists, and places we wanted to see. Derek was charismatic, the kind of guy that talks fast and fills silences so you don't have to. It made the first few hours go by fast. I should have noticed the red flags. The first weird thing was the route. I'd checked it the night before, straight shot through Nevada into Utah, then Colorado. But about 3 hours in, Derek said he knew a faster way through some back highways. I opened my Maps app and realized we were already way off the expected path. Isn't this kind of out of the way? I asked, trying not to sound too paranoid. Nah, trust me, Derek said, grinning. Less traffic and better scenery. You'll see. I should have insisted. I should have asked to be dropped off. But I didn't. I told myself not to be dramatic. I didn't want to sound like I was accusing them of anything, so I let it slide. Then Miles started talking more, asking me questions, where I worked, if I had a girlfriend, if I lived alone, what my schedule was like. He wasn't making small talk. It felt intentional. Derek kept laughing at everything he said, even when it wasn't funny. By the time we stopped for gas at some middle-of-nowhere station in northern Nevada, I was feeling seriously uncomfortable. I got out to stretch my legs and text my sister, but the service was trash. 1 bar, barely loading anything. Derek went inside to pay. Miles stayed by the car, just watching me. Not talking, just staring. I tried not to react. Just stretched, yawned, and got back in the car. I figured I could push through a few more hours, then get out when we hit a bigger town. Grab a bus if I had to. I was already regretting getting in that car, but I didn't realize how bad it was about to get. About 45 minutes later, we pulled into a dirt road off the main highway. I asked where we were going. Derek smiled. Bathroom break, he said. There was no bathroom. Just trees. Open land. No signs. No lights. Then Miles turned around in his seat and said flatly, "Get out." I laughed nervously. Why? Derek reached down by his seat, and suddenly I wasn't laughing anymore. He pulled out a roll of duct tape like it was nothing. Like it was just part of the plan. My instinct was to run. But before I could even reach for the handle, Miles turned around and lunged across the seat. He grabbed my arm, and Derek hit the locks. Click. I was trapped. I fought back. Hard. Threw my elbow into Miles' jaw and tried to kick the door open, but Derek reached over and punched me. full force, right in the ribs. The air left my lungs. I doubled over, and that's when the tape came out. They taped my wrists, my ankles, my mouth, all while I was still in the car. I couldn't believe what was happening. I mean, what the hell was this? A robbery? A kidnapping? Were they going to hurt me? Kill me? Nobody ever thinks they're going to be the one tied up in the back seat of a car in the middle of the desert. They drove in silence for a while after that. No music, no jokes, just road and wind and static tension thick enough to choke on. I could hear them talking quietly up front, but the wind and road noise made it impossible to catch more than a word or two. Drop spot. By morning, he'll have the cash ready. My mind raced. They weren't just trying to scare me. They were selling me, or trading me, or delivering me to someone. The car eventually turned off the road onto something that wasn't even a road anymore, just packed dirt and dead weeds. No signs, no lights, just black sky and engine noise. They parked beside a rusted-out fence line and cut the engine. "Take a leak," Derek said, slamming the door behind him. Miles got out next, and they left me in the car, tied, muzzled, alone. The silence was almost worse than the attack. The moonlight lit up the interior just enough for me to see the duct tape glinting around my wrists. My heart was hammering against my chest. My hands were already going numb. But they'd made a mistake. They didn't tape me to anything. They just left me tied up in the back seat, like luggage. I started twisting my wrists, trying to loosen the tape. It burned, peeled skin. But I didn't stop. I worked one hand free, just enough to slip a finger under the tape and peel it back. Slowly, silently. Every second felt like hours. I managed to get one arm free, then used that hand to rip off the tape on my mouth. Then I heard the voices coming back. I didn't wait. I threw myself forward between the seats, jammed the gear into drive, and stomped on the gas with my hand, awkward, wild, barely controlled. The car lurched forward. I didn't care. I just went. I could see them in the rear view, both of them shouting, sprinting after the car, but it was too late. The car bounced over a dip in the dirt path and hit the open road again. My legs were still tied, but I managed to steer. I didn't care about damage. I didn't care where I was going. I just drove. A few miles later, I saw lights, a tiny gas station still open. I swerved in, rolled out of the car, and ran inside like a lunatic. The guy behind the counter nearly dropped his coffee. I yelled for him to call the police. Told him I'd been kidnapped, tied up, nearly delivered to God knows who. Within 10 minutes, 2 highway patrol cars showed up. I gave them everything: names, car make, plate number, screenshots of the rideshare post, the original forum message. They searched the area but never found Derek or Miles. The car was found 2 days later, abandoned near an irrigation canal. No fingerprints, no ID, and the names they gave me were fake. The police believed me, said I was lucky, that most people in those situations don't get away. I never finished the trip, never saw my sister. I flew home 2 days later and deleted every rideshare app, every road trip group, every online forum I'd ever used. And to this day, I still wonder who they were taking me to, and what they wanted me for.